Good morning, Kevin.
Good morning, Sully. How are you today?
Oh, not bad, not bad. A little under the weather. Got a little cough going. Trying to exercise that from the system.
All right. Well, sorry to hear that, but it is the time of year where the air changes, and you got to deal with it a little.
Yeah, the grind catches up to you, man. It's a long high school football season.
Yeah, it's long, but you know what you're going to get each week, so
yep.
You got to be prepared.
Hey, I'll tell you what, though, man, it came to an exciting end last weekend with some of these sectional championships and some really exciting football. We were talking about that with Mike McGarry here just a few minutes ago. And what was your takeaway from the weekend? I mean, plenty to write about, plenty of interesting storylines, some great finishes. Kind of had a little something for everybody this past weekend.
Yeah, like I told you before, it's the weekend everybody shoots for, when the calendar starts to turn. And obviously we got some very good matchups, and we had some pretty exciting games. And I think, Rowan, specifically to Rowan and the 5 games there, I think that, everybody, I was really, really pleasantly surprised with the turnout. I knew it was going to be some decent crowds, but it looked like everybody, both teams on every game had significant fans in the attendance, and it was just a really nice weekend. The weather held up pretty well, so and it was just a great weekend to kind of wrap things up.
It was kind of funny before the show got started. Cole looked over at me. He's like, "Hey, do you know this Devin Leary kid's only a junior? Have you seen his stats?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude. I've been following him all season. I know what he's all about. I mean, this kid, the legend just keeps growing for this kid."
Yeah, we've talked about Devin Leary probably just about every week because he's done kind of, I don't want to say remarkable things, but he's been consistent all season long. And once again in that final with Lenape, Lenape kind of jumps out real quick on Timber Creek, 10-0, and Devin had threw a pick right into the offensive line, into the line, and they had turned the ball over on a mishandled exchange, and you're kind of sitting there, and it's real early, but you're like, wow, like, okay, they haven't really had to face this kind of issue before. And next thing you know, at halftime, it's 10-10, and Devin gets the team down into field goal position. He marches, they're at their own 20 with 24 seconds left, and he gets them down in the field goal position, and Tyler Colucci hits a 34-yard field goal, and it's 10-10 at halftime. So, they came out of the break, and it was a completely different football team from my perspective, and Devin really took charge and engineered that team. And next thing you know, the end result was 31 unanswered points altogether, and they win going away. So, he did a real nice job, putting the ball where it needed to be like he has all season. And one thing that really stuck out in my mind about that game is, I sat in the press box for that game, and when you sit in the press box at the sectional championships, you always get observers and reporters and a couple of these broadcasters that come in and they haven't seen him play all season long, and they are just astonished by what he does. And I kind of sit back and just shake my head because, what Devin Leary did, while it was outstanding and astonishing, was things that he had done all season long, and I was not surprised. So, you sit back and you watch these guys, and they're just in amazement, and you kind of wonder, well, you know what? I've seen this all season. This is Devin Leary. This is what this kid does on a weekly basis. It's not a fluke. So, that's kind of what I took away from that last game is that, other people, in a way, saw what we've been seeing all season.
I guess because maybe in Jersey we're not overly used to seeing prolific quarterbacks. I mean, you see that down in Florida and Texas. These guys putting up 2,000, 3,000 yards in a season. We're not so much used to that in Jersey. It's more of a running game first mentality in New Jersey football, and you see some great running backs. So maybe that's why people are so amazed that because a lot of these teams don't really throw the ball that often. I mean, West Deptford had 3 passing attempts in their game.
Yeah, that's and it's been that. This season was a season just like that. It was the season of a running back, and I'll give ourselves a little bit of a plug. Our All-Star material will come out online later this afternoon and in the paper tomorrow. And, you'll look at the list, just if you look at the list of statistics, there's a ton of kids who rushed for over 1,000 yards this season. and some significantly more than that. And the passing, Devin Leary clearly separated himself from everyone else as far as throwing the ball. But this was a year for the running backs, and South Jersey was really blessed with a very, very solid crop of running backs. And it's not all seniors. There's going to be some kids next year coming back that are going to be, we're going to talk about again. And these kids are going to go places, when their high school careers are over. So, if anything, this was a year for running backs in South Jersey. Obviously, Devin kind of led the charge offensively at quarterback, and I think clearly separated himself from everyone else. But we really had a nice assortment of running backs. He did some very nice things.
Yeah, I was thinking to myself before Sunday's game, West Effort and Cedar Creek. I thought Cedar Creek was really up against it this year. West Effort kind of had that chip on their shoulder from losing to Cedar Creek last year in the championship game, and they had such a prolific offense. And you add Anthony Sees to the mix, and that's a tough ask for any defense to stop a team like that when they're going to rush the ball 53 times on you. Yeah,
The thing was, Clyde Folsom approached that game. He was hoping it was going to be a day to run the football, and that it was going to be a day where maybe Cedar Creek was not going to be able to throw it around as much as they wanted to do. And things kind of worked out for him. Cedar Creek had its opportunities. It was right there. A couple mistakes here or there, a couple missed opportunities, but West Effort, I think from the very beginning of the season, I had them at the beginning of the season that they were a team that was going to get to this final. Did I think that they were going to go 12-0? Not necessarily. I really thought Timber Creek might have been the only team that was going to run the table, and they did. But West Effort, they showed that, a power running game can get the job done, and, they weren't really, they really didn't have that many close games. They had a game against Collingswood that was relatively close, but that kind of game always is, and then a close game with Cinnaminson. But for the most part, West Effort was dropping 45 and 50 points a week and running for close to 400 yards. So, they came into that game, didn't change their game plan. Got a real nice effort from their quarterback, Pete Oria, who will be back next year. And, West Effort is a team and a Group 2 program that year after year you have to always keep in the conversation. And they have really in the last, under Clyde Folsom, in the last 25 years that he's been there, I'd say the last 15 or so, they've been in the mix every year. They have four times they've reached a sectional final 3 times in a row. So
wow.
That's consistency for you right there. And West Effort is obviously a program that has built itself to a certain level where they, like I said, they're in the conversation regardless every season.
Yeah, I think one of the overlooked points of that game was how well the West Effort defense played. They really shut down Cedar Creek's ability to run the ball and said, hey, we know you're a prolific passing game. We're going to shut down the run, and we're going to rely on our defensive backs to make plays, and they did.
Yeah, they came up with a handful of really nice plays. When Cedar Creek was moving the football a little bit, they came up and made some stops. Their linebackers, Mike Holt and Kyle Garrison, really got to the football quick, and they never allowed Cedar Creek to have that really big play, the big play that really seizes momentum and kind of gets everybody going. So, as much as we've talked about the West Effort offensively, obviously, like you said, its defense really came and showed up and came up with some big plays on its own.
Talking with Kevin Minnick of the Courier-Post. Kevin, we kind of joked about it last weekend a little bit, saying, Paulsboro, they're sick of hearing about Jonathan Taylor, but maybe that was true. Maybe they said, hey, we're a pretty good team too, and people need to recognize that. And they went out and scored a great 29-26 win over Salem.
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor got his yards, but he had to really work for these yards. And there were no real long, we've seen Jonathan Taylor with 65, 70, 80-yard touchdown runs in the better part of the second half of the season, and he didn't get that opportunity. Zaire Jones, he was equal to Taylor. They both were in about the 180 range, and he had to broke some big plays. But for the most part, Paulsboro kind of, if you can say they contained 2 running backs that rushed for, I don't know, almost 400 yards. They did, and like you said, Paulsboro is a program. Glenn Howard's been there a long time, and they've had a lot of championship success. That was their 18th sectional title, and they've had great runs in Group 1, and he gets the best out of these kids. Can Paulsboro compete on a weekly basis with the big boys in South Jersey? No, because they don't have the numbers, and injuries and just bumps and bruises would really take its toll. But on a game-by-game situation, one-time game, maybe they can. And, they get out there and they hit and they fly to the ball. And like I said, Glenn Howard had them prepared, he may have been blowing smoke, so to speak, talking about not really having seen Jonathan Taylor and this, that, and the other in the weeks leading up to the final week of preparation. But, he obviously does his homework. He knows what's going on. He had them prepared. Well prepared. He got, tremendous efforts out of his guys. And, like you said, it's hard to bet against the Paulsboro team, and I did. And I took my lumps for picking Salem. But, Glenn Howard, obviously, he's one of the all-time great coaches in South Jersey history. So it's kind of hard to bet against him in a championship game. And, like I said, he had them guys prepared. They went out and executed. They made plays. And, at the end of the day, Titletown got himself, another piece of hardware for that trophy case.
The old wily coach. Oh, yeah, we don't know much about this kid. Yeah, meanwhile, he's probably watched about 30 hours of film on the kid.
So he could tell he told everyone under the sun he didn't know much about Jonathan Taylor. And I can guarantee you he knew as much, if not more, than anybody else around.
He probably knew the kid's middle name, his birthday, his friends, his pet's name.
Glenn Howard is a tremendous coach. He is a tremendous coach, and he's at his alma mater. He's another one that bleeds Paulsboro red, and like I said, never bet against Glenn Howard. This is kind of what I kind of had to eat a little bit this week.
Kevin, real quick before we let you go, any surprise at the NJSI meetings earlier this week that those football and basketball proposals got shot down? In all honesty, Sully, at this point in the game, nothing surprises me anymore, and I just wait and see what's next on the agenda. I think the thing that hurts the most, I think that hurts the South, is the fact that there are so many more North Jersey teams, and there's so many more. I don't know, maybe little cliques of North guys. People can say that it doesn't happen at all. But there is a clear division in this state, and there is a clear, in my opinion, in the 30 years I've been doing this, there's a clear disrespect for South Jersey high school sports in the grand scheme overall. There's certain sports here and there that everyone thinks, the South is solid and there's a level of respect. But on a lot of levels, there's no respect for South Jersey sports. To be quite honest with you, I really think that. And some of the things that have just happened, and just this past 3 months alone, it kind of boggles the mind how these things happen. Why the state continue? Why that non-public vote went down as far as football is concerned, allowing non-publics to continue to play for state championships when it is in their constitution that there clearly is not supposed to be a state champion, is just mind-boggling. And it's getting to the point where people in the South have got to be fed up that we're going to have to do something about it. And every time they go for votes with the NJSIA, they don't get the votes. The North gets what they want, and things continue in the status quo. And we go, well, here we go again. It's time for the South, for these athletic directors, these principals, and superintendents, and administrators in South Jersey schools to put their foot down and say we have had enough, and we're not getting the balance and equality that we deserve in South Jersey. And if it means getting a lawyer and taking it to the state, to the Department of Education, if it means finding a way to say, okay, well, you know what? We're all going to back out. We do not want to participate in your playoffs. Now, that's bold steps. That would be tremendously bold steps that would take an awful lot of guts to do. And I don't know that it will ever get that far, but it needs to happen. Things will continue to remain the same until somebody puts their foot down and really says, we've had enough. And you know what?
our kids are not benefiting from it at all. St. Augustine can run the table and go 9-0, and year in and year out, we all know when they get to the North, it's a different ball game. And to be quite honest with you, my personal opinion is they have no chance to win. They got blown out by Bergen Catholic. They're losing 50-13 at halftime. Bergen Catholic didn't make it past that round. And then you look at the team that Bergen Catholic lost to, that team lost as well. So how strong is the North in football? And that's just one example. It's a disgrace that these kids work their butts off year after year, all season long, to go up and have their season end in a humiliating fashion that it does. And, I feel very strong about that. And I know there's people that feel as strong, if not stronger than I do. So, I know St. Augustine feels a different way, but I think there's a lot of people that feel my way. And, at some point, somebody that has the power to do so has got to put their foot down and say enough is enough.
Great stuff, Kevin. As always, we're up against the break. Got to let you go, but enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you out there during hoop season.
All right, Sully. Again, I appreciate all the time, and it's been a nice experience being on the show with you week after week.
No problem, man. Get your hoops notes ready. We'll catch up with you next week.
All right, sounds good.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.
That was Kevin Minnick of the Courier-Post.